Dobar dan iz studija televizije Metanoja. Sa nama je gospodin Luj Levek. Dobar dan.
Dobar dan.
Luj ima samo 26 godina, a već je stigao da završi studije u Parizu i na još nekim mestima. Studirao je međunarodne odnose, ekonomiju i bezbednost. On je svetski putnik, a nedavno je napisao i knjigu Kazanj u kontekstu ruske diplomatije. Nažalost, ova knjiga još nije prevedena na srpski jezik, ali zato smo mi ovde da popričamo malo o glavnoj temi te knjige koja je kao jedan biznis vodič kroz Rusiju i koja će biti interesantna za naše čitaoce čim bude prevedena na srpski. Luj je inače veoma talentovan, multitalentovana ličnost i njega interesuje, osim ovih osnovnih tema njegovih studija, i filozofski i religiozni kontekst tema koje istražuje. Pa bih ja onda i krenula od toga, kako vi vidite Rusiju u tom kontekstu susreta različitih religija, pravoslavlja i islama. Objasnite nam Rusiju iz vaše tačke gledišta.
Prvi, hvala lepo, Jana, hvala također i Metanoja i Iv i Mira. Bez oni ničего не существует такое интервью. Вот. Но, может быть, по-английски будем говорить, да? Russia and Islam are kind of concepts that emerge at the same time and relatively at the same place. The first mosque appeared in the town of Derbent in 722, 747, I think, around this time, in Derbent, in Dagestan. And Russia adopted Orthodoxy just a few centuries after. I forgot the exact date, but it's okay. So Islam and Russia, we can say, with Orthodoxy, of course, they can say that they are neighbors. They always had to grow together. They went through a crisis together. They went through beautiful moments together. And always, since the beginning of Russia, Islam, Orthodoxy, and Russia had to be on the same canvas, on the same painting together.
That's interesting. Izvinite, kako Rusija se postavlja prema islamu? Kako ona koristi islam u spoljnoj politici, u diplomatiji?
In Russia, you have a few ethnicities. You even have Buddhism. You have Buddhism in a place called Buryatia. You have Irkutsk, you have Baikal, you have Buryatia, and then you have Mongolia. They are truly Buddhist, with their temples were called Datsan. You also have Islam, mainly in Caucasus, in Kafkas, and in the region of the Volga, Tatarstan, Bashkortostan. And also you have after Orthodoxy.
Da li je to taj region koji zovemo Evroazija?
Yes, that's this one. We talked just a bit after about Eurasia. So Kazan appeared on the maps even before Moscow, when the troops of Ivan the Terrible went on Kazan and took the city. They killed basically the Yusupov, the father Yusupov, but the whole family. So one of the big heads of the big families of Kazan, but the family was incorporated into the Tsar.
As a representative of Tatarstan and these people there.
Yeah, they took basically the same concept as Mongol. The Mongol came, killed many people, which was very harsh, but then they took a few heads and they say, okay, now you're going to be our representatives. So they didn't seek in changing basically the religion. They were, of course, this idea, but when they saw that it was harder than expected, they said, okay, we will together do something with Islam. And today, we will say that Russia is kind of a renewed Russia and tries to get back with some concepts, especially after the 90s. Since 2002, Kazan is the place that is holding what they call Kazan Islamski Mir, Kazan Islamic World, It's a summit of the Organization of Cooperation of the Muslim Countries based in Jeddah in Saudi Arabia. It's basically, if we can recap this, sum up extremely simply, it's the organ of influence of Saudi Arabia towards the Islamic countries. Russia is not a member, it's an observatory member, but still very active, and they want basically to be part of this Islamic story. And Kazan has been elected basically the city for many reasons, mainly because it's the heart of Evroazije. Maybe we'll talk a bit afterwards. And each year, most of the biggest heads, the biggest political heads, political figures of political Islam in their own countries come and meet in Kazan to talk about business and politics. Compared with Serbia, I know the story is different, but in Serbia you have Novi Pazar, and I think it's extremely interesting because we're going to, I think in a few minutes, talk about Islamic finance. Russia has Kazan, and Russia and Serbia has Novi Pazar. So basically they have, like, let's say an embassy or a bridge of cooperation with these Islamic countries. In Russia, they understood it very well and they wanted to use it. In Soviet Union, they couldn't really use it. It was really, let's say, communist colonization. Now, I cannot really say colonization, it's influence, like many countries do, basically. And with Islam, they have huge ties, basically, with specific countries. First of all, it's to repair and regain the time that has been lost. So mainly Egypt, Syria, a few African countries, especially Angola. They are not Muslim, but still they have many Muslim countries in Africa. So Islam is basically, we can also take Islam as a political concept, not obviously as a religion. We will take it as a finance concept afterwards. Even though lots of ties and lots of relationships were created during communism times, especially after Stalin, when Khrushchev started to be the head of the Communist Party. And this basically lost time. It's true, no one I think can deny it. It's the 90s until I would say 2000, 2002, when really Vladimir Putin took back the power in Russia and tried to make it back on track, basically. And we could see already the first fruits towards 2005, 2008. We remember, I think it was in 2008, when Vladimir Putin said in Munich, this conference about security, saying if NATO comes towards Russia, but we need also to understand, if NATO comes towards Russia, we will come towards the east. It's like the west comes to the east and Russia also goes to the east, and that's why today they have Eurasian cooperation for borders, Eurasian cooperation for money, for finance. They have Eurasian cooperation for culture also. They have a lot of Eurasian cooperation because first Russia needs to control basically its neighborhood. Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Kyrgyzstan, especially.
It is some kind of frame.
Yeah, especially that today there is it's basically love and hate relationship with China, because China would like also to take a grasp on Central Asia, because it's the new Silk Road that passed by basically the old Silk Road in Merv, Kashgar, these beautiful cities that were before capital cities of civilizations. And so yeah, lost time. We're trying to get back, and it gives lots of opportunities for Serbs also. As long as you speak Russian, doors will open for like in Russia, in Kazakhstan. The main aim is to speak the language. Main aim is to speak the language. All the culture after you can learn there.
Znači, došlo je do jednog uspona Evroazije, do buđenja ideje da smo zajedno bolji. That we are not just stronger together, we are better, also better together.
Yeah, well, I like this saying. You say the nice borders make the nice neighbors. Often when a border is not very nice, you can bet whatever you want that after 20, 50 years, there will be a hot conflict. Borders are relatively, let's say they're relatively okay in Central Asia, even though it's a bit like in Caucasus, they can be hot conflicts sooner or later. Now, the aim, basically, and also through Islamic finance that we're going to talk later, it's to bring projects. The main idea is to bring projects. You need to build a civilization. Civilization is already there, but still we need to go a bit higher. Because in Kazakhstan they tried to come back to the civilization of Tengri, of more the Mongol civilization. Not really to forget about communism or Russia, but they have their own civilization, basically. And the projects basically is infrastructure. To have, let's say, the bomb, nuclear bomb, is very good, but just to destroy. If you build highways, rail track, airports, you build, and then you're going to attract so many people who want to stay in your country for the good reasons.
Tačno, ali za to vam je potrebna jača ekonomija. Sad ta ekonomija, tu postoje posebni pojmovi u islamskom svetu i te islamske zemlje nastoje da afirmišu svoj koncept ekonomije. One ga ne nameću drugima, ali taj koncept ekonomije je malo humanizovan. I kamata koja je diskutabilna, ali kakav je profit u finansijama bez kamate?
Islamic finance has, of course, to do with Quran, and we're going to discuss a few surah, especially a few verses, only 3.
Yes, okay, that's okay.
But mainly, it's even coming from the US, and even from Christians in the US.
Stvarno?
2008, big financial crisis. 1995, big financial crisis in Sweden. What's the two difference? The difference basically is that in Sweden, the heads, the ones who made this crisis and made many people poor and committed suicide, the heads of the banks, the big bankers, went into jail and are still in jail. 2008, the big heads that made this huge mess, which we are still having today basically, are still freer than ever. They can do whatever they want. 2008, they understood very quickly, already in 2010, that the heads, the one who created, who let this crisis go and spread in the whole world, will not go to jail. They understood. Many people, very smart, they understood. They cannot do anything. So they said, okay, do we have alternative finance? Of course. This is how they went into Islamic finance. Many people can say Islamic finance is just a lie. It's yes, it's no. The thing is that even if it's a lie, even if many people kind of try to fake it, in English they say it, fake it until you make it. I do believe, even if we are still at the beginning of these things, in terms of in an industrial way, I do believe and I know that something interesting is going to happen and something interesting is going to come up out of it. The first, let's say, basics, the first steps of Islamic finance, they were in 1960, around 1955, 1960 in Malaysia, with something called Tabung Haji. One of the 5 pillars of Islam is the Hajj. It's even a name of a surah, Al-Hajj. It's the pilgrim all the way to Mecca. And this is very expensive. It's terribly expensive. Back at the time, I don't remember how much it is, but today it's almost $10,000 with the hotel, with the flight. So with Islamic finance, they contract insurance, which is called takaful, and they also contract some loan, and in Islamic way, to finance the Hajj. Also, to explain extremely quickly and extremely fast Islamic finance, I want a car. I want a house. Let's say a house. I ask the bank is going to pay the house, and I'm going to pay back every month. But the house belongs to the bank. It doesn't belong to me, and I need to give to the bank afterwards. It's known. The house belongs to the bank for 20 years, and it takes the risk. I die after 10 years. The bank will pay the rest. Basically, there are 3 surah, Al-Baqarah, Al-Imran, Ar-Rum. Basically, Al-Baqarah 275 explains that there is a threat. Everybody who's going to do interest, because one of the main idea of Islamic finance, which I should have said at the beginning, is interest, is prohibition of interest, which is called riba, like fish, it's a riba. So Al-Baqarah 275 tells us that if you do interest, you will be of the people of the fire. It's this. So basically, it's impossible to do interest. Al-Imran 3:130, I guess. Al-Imran 3:130, yeah, of course, 3:130 tells us that Allah wants the people who believe, so they call it at Muslim al-Muhammadun, al-Mu'minun, the people who believes, to spend only what Allah wants them to spend, to go towards heaven. And Ar-Rum tells us basically that you need to give first, and then you will receive, or you receive and then you give. And it's a bit often we need to refer to the Torah to fully understand many concepts in the Abrahamic religions. When you have these forces, basically Cohen, Levi, Benjamin, or when you see Egypt in the Torah, this relates basically to specific forces and specific properties and specific ideas. So these are the 3 verses of the 3 surah that make the Islamic finance. And if I can just talk quickly about the Muslim doctrine, every Muslim thinks that they need to believe in Allah, and they need basically to follow the path, because when they will die, or mainly on the day of resurrection, the dead people will come alive, or the alive will all stay in one line, and they will have all their sins and all the good things here, and they will have 2 books, and they will walk like this towards Muhammad, who is the guardian of the doors of the heaven. And then if the book of your sin is too high, they will fall. And Muhammad will just try to say something like, I completely forgot, like, Il Rabbi as-Salam, it means please make peace on them. This is the full concept. This is why also to understand fully the 3 surah that I just explained on Islamic finance.
Da, to je zanimljivo, ali kako sada u okviru Rusije, ako dođe neki građanin Srbije i hoće da sarađuje recimo sa tim zemljama Evroazije, šta treba da ispunjava? Kako ide taj biznis?
Some kind of interesting ideas, I would say, mainly as it's relatively new still. It's not even 1% of the full world finance, Islamic finance, but still it's growing 40% each 3-4 years. So it's huge. If it stays like this, in 20 years it's going to be around 2% of full finance. So there are opportunities. There's one big company that makes Islamic finance in Tatarstan. It's called Akbar's Bank. And also, since Vladimir Putin on the 1st of September of this year, 2023, said okay to full Islamic banking system inside Russia. Inside Russia, you have also, if I'm not mistaken, Rosbank, SBL Bank, who are also doing Islamic finance. Akbar's is innovating because they give you basically an Islamic card. You can pay anything which is Islamic related, and if you pay something which is not Islamic related, they send you a notification saying it's not Islamic. You can still pay it, but it's also for education, because many people do not fully understand what is, let's say, haram and halal. It's just a law. The law is called Sharia. Many people think Sharia is you will take a knife and you will kill people. No, Sharia is basically in Islam the law. the law of religion and the law of everyday life. So if you cannot drink alcohol, it's a sharia.
And that's it. Everything is incorporated in Russia's financial system.
Completely, and it's normal because many people, Russian, there are issues with Islam in Russia.
Yes.
We can even talk about it, but Russians do believe, and I'm not far to go on this way, but not too much. The Russians do believe that Russia is Dar el-Islam. Dar es-Islam is the land of peace. So basically it's completely okay for Muslim. It's open to Muslim, basically, which is true because they even innovate and they even go very deep into this banking, Islamic banking system, which is, again I say it, I hope if we do it well, it can be safe. There is a project between Moscow and Kazan, and especially Moscow and Ekaterinburg. So basically to start to have Moscow towards the Ural, and of course Trans-Ural to go all the way to Siberia, to have a high-speed train, like they do between Moscow and St. Petersburg. There are talks right now to know whether or not they should use at least a little bit of Islamic finance, at least as a symbol, to reach, basically to link Kazan and Moscow. I think it can be, even as a symbolic, even if they don't do, even if it's 1 or 2% Islamic finance, just to buy trains, for example, with Islamic finance, it will give an impulse, because many other countries do not fully understand Islamic finance, or do not fully even want it, but there are countries, and we can talk about it, that's very interesting, that want to have basically the lead on politics in Islam and also finance in Islam. Today you have 3 countries that are fighting with political Islam: Saudi Arabia, Iran, Turkey. Which is a bit funny, but there is a fourth one.
To su sve centri islama.
Yeah.
Koji su konkurenti?
But basically there are these 3, and it's very funny because there is a fourth one. Russia is also fighting to have political Islam power. Because Russia, if we can give a definition of Russia today, Russia is not against, let's say, New World Order, let's say new globalization. Russia is even for globalization as long as they have the piece of the cake. So they need to have their influence, and they are completely okay with globalization. Kazan will be, I hope, one of the main capital of Islamic finance. Today you have Istanbul, you have Dubai, and you have Kuala Lumpur. Mainly Kuala Lumpur is for the insurance. And in Africa you have Nairobi for the British Africa, and for the French Africa you have 3 places that are really fighting with each other: Abidjan, Dakar, Casablanca. If I need to give let's say, my own opinion, I think Dakar is the best choice. So I hope, Kazan has a huge future. Kazan has a key, especially that they want to have the Olympics in 2036 also. Kazan definitely has a card to play, and Russia is giving everything to Kazan right now. Now it's up to Kazan and up to authorities in Kazan to really push and do the best.
Did you have a company there, or did you have some personal experience with this kind of business?
Okay. No, I never had a company over there, but I was working very closely with Kazan. Basically, back in France, we were having talks. Basically, we were also discussing on the international, that's not diplomacy, but international image that Tatarstan wants to have in the West. So in France, in Spain, and I'm still very linked basically to authorities of Tatarstan, outside of Tatarstan, and hopefully there will be ideas very soon. One of the main ideas is Russia, Africa. If we can say, let's say French people, Western people understand Africans. No, do not understand Africans and do not really want to understand them. People from the east of Europe and Russia do not understand Africans, but they try each time. And for Africans, it's completely different. You have, I would say, let's say 3 big types of colonization. You have French, you have British, and you have communist. For me, British colonization is relatively complicated because they consider the local people as the slave. I take you back to the gentlemen clubs in India where no Indians are even allowed even to wash the floors. It's crazy. No Indians in gentlemen club in India. They need to be, there is only one way. It's 2 ways. It's to go with law and to be a judge, and then you can rise into the society, or you basically need to be a Freemason. Then you go to London and then you come back, like Sir Sewoga Gulam in Mauritius. Freemasonry made Mauritius identity today. You have also French. We are the civilization of the examination, of the exam. When you have an exam, you have a whole range of privileges. Privileges from Latin, privat, legere, private laws. When you have examination, the concourse, national concourse of economy, national concourse of customs, national concourse of journalism, whatever. You have a deeper experience of the French civilization, but you need to have this concourse, and then you can come back. And then you have Russia. Russia, especially communist. Communist is very easy. You have a sense of the elected people. Whenever you talk to people who are communist, they feel, really in Asia, in Africa, they feel that they are elected by someone higher. It's extremely transcendental. They feel that they are elected by someone, by something higher than them. It's very easy. You need to read and write. Why? In North Korea, let's have the worst example, they all read and write. You read the propaganda, you write, you make new propaganda. That's
clear.
And this is why it's extremely clear, it's extremely simple, and I think people tend to remember it also. So, yeah, it's...
Is it some kind of colonization in mind?
Yeah, it's colonization in mind. I do believe French colonization wasn't the worst, because they were also preparing since the youngest ages. For example, British, they never really created schools. They were really taking people as slaves, of course French too, but they were building schools, they were teaching French. Let's say they were taking as a path the local people toward this examination, really the examination, but it's the same for random French people. For random French people in France, the examination, you are someone and you have access to deeper understanding, but deeper experience of the civilization. If you don't have this paper, this exam, you have great issues in France.
You are in problem.
You're in big trouble. It's true, you're in big troubles and very fast.
Kako ste vi došli do toga da odete u Rusiju i da istražujete taj odnos pravoslavlja i islama? Vi ste mi ispričali da vas je fascinirala ta ezoterija koja postoji i u pravoslavlju i u islamu. Kako ste otkrili to? Kako ste otišli tamo?
I would say it's very funny. Russians have almost a Muslim, I would say, Muslim behavior towards Orthodoxy. It's completely different as here. Completely. I see more here what I saw in France or in Spain when I used to live here. It's more, let's say Catholic, let's say European way towards Orthodoxy. They will have, it's very funny, more turning Oriental way, Muslim way towards the Orthodoxy. Concerning esotericism, you have, so the Jews have the Kabbalah, the Christians have the Gnosis, and the Muslims have the Sufi. I would say that I know more Sufi Islam. compared to traditional Islam. I cannot say I know Islam very well, but I know more Sufi Islam. Which is dangerous to say because many Sufi Islam actually get persecuted in the world because there is this difference in the Quran. They have the Zahir, is basically what's the letter, which is written here, and you have the Batin. And it's the Batin in the Quran is the esoteric, the hidden way.
Hidden way. Pa u pravoslavlju postoji taj misticizam. U ruskom pravoslavlju.
And through these things also, before to go into Russian mysticism, we need to incorporate a religion, which I don't think people will understand. Will guess it's Tibetan. Tibetan culture is extremely over-present in Russia. I think it's extremely interesting. But you have Altai in Russia, you have also this Buddhist in Buryatia, which is sad basically because it's more Tibetan, but Russian people tend not to really know about Buddhism in Russia. They know a lot about Tibetan because great thinkers, many people who traveled, who are Russian, Rehir, Blavatsky, they went basically to Tibet. And when they went back, they wrote lots of books. Beware when you write these books, because who financed their trip? Just always think about it. But still, I read Rehir, and I loved it a lot, but just take a big, distance with the book. And this, with all this mysticism, all this philosophy, came basically the idea of the third Rome, Treći Rim.
Treći Rim.
Where Dostoevsky said, не будет четвертый Рим, и мир просто не будет жить просто с одним Римом. Надо три Рима. And he wrote a lot, Dostoevsky, on this, and it has been forgotten, I would say. But it's coming back slowly and slowly. So of course, when people come back to this concept, they don't really understand. They just say, okay, we are Russians and we are going to, God is with us, basically. It's not really like this. It's more, Russia it's like Russia is a prophet. Russia as a country, as an idea, as a concept, is prophetic. They have a message to deliver to the world and to deliver to the ear that accepts it. I think Russia has a message. I start to understand which kind of message. I cannot talk about it, it's way too esoteric. But I start to understand the message of Russia, which is at the beginning complicated to understand, but more and more the picture is relatively clear. And I think one of the key concepts of the message, has this sense also of living together, because all the time in Russia, there were wars, there were crazy hard times in Russia, but crazy hard times were always together, with many different religions and many different ethnicities. And I think that's interesting to concept, and we can directly go into it because Eurasia, we cannot say that it's Soviet Union, but during Soviet Union and Eurasia soon, they try to recreate some kind of a universe. Russia is a universe to itself. So many people who say, I am expert on Russia, are not really expert on Russia because they don't understand that Russia is a universe in itself. And that makes things extremely complicated because you need to forget everything that you know, what you read, especially with people who wrote on Russia but never lived there, or people who lived there but lived in an embassy. I was the ambassador and I wrote a book on Russia. Yeah, but when you're ambassador, often you meet people who already have a specific speech and you want to listen to what they say.
Rusija je jedan bogat i raskošan svet, ali Evropljani je ne razumeju. Jer u Evropi postoji to nastojanje da racionalno razumemo Rusiju i ta racionalna logika nije dovoljna.
There are many things here, and it's made basically at the beginning of the book, there would be a few citations, a few speeches, basically. And let me read you one or two. Zbigniew Brzezinski, one of the great thinkers of the US, whether we like him or not, I don't like, but it's a great thinker. And he says, you need to isolate with a cliff of blood the people, the Slavic people and the Latin people. That's clear, that's clear. The great chess board. It's in one of these main books that everybody knows. Samuel Huntington. Yeah, Samuel Huntington. Who are we?
Crash of civilization.
Yeah, it's basically crash of civilization. It's who are we? It's the term number 2. The borders of Islam and Orthodoxy are borders of blood. Do not get too close to them. You do not understand them. They understood very well, all our, let's say, our elites understood very well, and they do understand right now what they are doing very well. If you want also one other, let's just one last one. Boh lubi trojicu. Robert Strauss UP. He was ambassador of US in Stockholm, and he's basically he's the master. He's the master of Huntington. He's the master of also Brzezinski. If I find him, okay. Well, Europeans, if you want to get rid of them, and it takes Russian also, in Europeans, it's very simple. You need to federalize them. And then you make them take the populations of the empire on their ground.
Više puta čula od ljudi na zapadu, od profesora univerziteta, da Rusija nije Evropa, da je Rusija azijska despotija.
It's Tulska kafa kada bio u Tulska ljubio, volio. I would say that Russia is not Europe, but at the same time, many Russians consider themselves as Oriental. Can we say Oriental today? Everybody's on TikTok, everybody's going to celebrate Halloween, everybody has Instagram, everybody has his phone, and everybody speaks English and watch the same TV series on Netflix. I think more and more Japanese, they're not very Oriental anymore. I've been to Japan a few times. I met Chinese people here, very nice people here from China, but I don't really feel they're very Asian, but are they really Oriental? No, they are modern. Russia is not Europe, but I would say
it is part of Europe too.
It is part of Europe, but it's part of modernity. Many people...
And future.
Sorry?
And future.
Hopefully, because I don't think Western Europe is part of the future. We need to wait, basically, that the plan of the World Economic Forum ends in 2030.
Really?
And then 2031, I have big hopes for 2031. But before, we need to wait, say, 7 years. 7 years, maybe you know, in Revelation, in the New Testament, 777 is one of the big numbers, a bit esoteric, that prophecy of the end of the world and the renewal of a new world. It's like 666 and 777. Third concept of Russian, let's say, colonization, influence in Africa. First, elected people, easy doctrine. Second, they try to understand, so basically African do not feel ashamed to be Africans. Third, Russia has everything. Bauxite to make aluminium, foil, gold, whatever. Wheat, since the sanctions became. Since the sanction came on Russia, now the agriculture sector in Russia is flourishing. It's crazy. So Russia doesn't really need the gold, anything in Africa. They are in Africa so that the Americans, the Chinese, or the British, mainly, do not take the Russians see it. Basically, they want to level the prices, especially the diamonds and especially the gold, so that they can sell their diamonds and their gold on the international market at the price of the market. They don't believe that Russia wants to sell it 200% more. Of course, like everyone, if you can sell it 5-10% more, it's okay. But they don't want to sell it like 200% more. They want basically relatively the price of the market. And they don't want that any country, China, US, mainly it's China, US, UK, want to take most of the diamond mines, most of the mines in Congo, especially Congo, Angola, this kind of region, and say, okay, now it's ours, and we're going to level up the price of the market, pass everything through Dubai, so we cannot know where it's coming from, and then it's just here. It just happened from God, and it happens to be 500% the price of the market. It's here. No, Russia doesn't want this. That's why Russia's presence in Africa is stronger every year and will stay in what mostly Western people do not understand, but it's even good because when you buy gold, if you buy it at the price of the market, let's say Russia is not totally innocent. So,
yes, I understand. And
are
there some kind of Islamic international organization too?
I forgot the question. Yeah. So this is basically why did I talk about diamond especially and gold? Because the BRICS, they want to make a new money. Mm-hmm. And for a long time, in the end, I think they're going to put it on gold. But for a long time, they were even thinking about diamond, which is very interesting. And to basically back it, to secure it with something strong. Because Karl Marx, who was a great bourgeois, sorry for people who are a bit communist on the edge, and JP Morgan, who was extremely bourgeois, JP Morgan, if we can do small digression, we're living today in the civilization of petrochemical. Before, when you were ill, you take hot water, you take leaves, trava, glog, all these things. After JP Morgan, you take medicines made with petroleum and chemicals. We are in this civilization today. That's why we are crazy about petroleum, because if we stop petroleum today, it's very bad. We're all going to die because we cannot take our medicines. We need some research and development again on traditional medicines. It's crazy. So JP Morgan and Karl Marx said, gold is money. Everything else is credit, even silver. For me, I do believe that silver is interesting, but still, it's true. Gold is money. So you need to back up your money on something tangible, on something that you can touch, on something that you can hold, that is higher than you, that is bigger than you, and this is gold. Russia is buying so much gold. The ruble is the only money that is backed up on gold today. China also is buying a lot of gold. I know that countries like Iran, Saudi Arabia, they're all buying gold. They tell you behind the camera not to buy gold because, gold is something archaic, like come from Greek archaic, it's very old, Ancient Testament, Iliad, the Odyssey. We don't care about this. People are buying it right now, and also everybody needs to buy a few. Small digression. French Revolution. The only people who could manage to live were the ones who had gold. Basically, there were two people. The diplomats, they didn't kill them, and the ones who had gold, because at each checkpoint, they gave basically a coin of gold to each people. So and they want to get what we call de-dollarization. I wrote already a long time ago, almost 200 pages on this. There's one big concept of de-dollarization. We can completely talk about it. It's called FCPA. It's Foreign Corrupt Act Practices. It's FCPA. It's the law in the US. The Court of Miami and the Court of New York. They have power to pursue me, to pursue you, anywhere in the world. If you do business, if you do trade, mainly with Russia, Iran, and China. Most of the companies basically who got broken with the help of French people inside, in France, to French companies. But it's the same. When I say France, you can duplicate, I don't know, for Serbia, Turkish, Russia, UK, whoever, were the ones who were doing business with Iran. US do not accept anything, any nice words on Iran, and are ready to kill anyone who is doing business. That is basically from Protestant culture. In Catholicism, for example, we can talk years and years without talking about money. Protestant culture, you can be the elected people from when you are still alive, and you have one way to do it, is money. And all the means are possible, basically, by almost all means possible. You can reach God, because when the wealthier you are, the closer to God you are. And in Protestant way, it's clear. I will kill you if you do business with this guy, if I do not accept. It's clear, the doctrine is completely clear. So that's why they're trying to kill, basically, because they do not understand that embargo is so that people make a revolution towards their own government. No, it's basically to kill them, because they accept. They accept and they like, Russian people in general like the government, Iran people in general are okay with the government, Chinese people in main general are okay with the government. No, if they do embargo, it's like in Iraq, these almost 500,000 children who died, and this lady, I don't remember, she died not a long time ago, said that it was worth it. The embargo, it was medicine against petroleum. But it's really to kill people, because it's like you need to get revenge. You do not accept the rules, it's okay, you're going to die and you're in harm.
To je stvarno sukob civilizacije.
That's the doctrine. The doctrine is this.
Kako vidite mesto Srbije u tom svetu budućnosti, svetu koji se menja? Šta su šanse Srbije? Gde su naše šanse?
Sometimes when I work in Serbia, I wish I was president of Serbia. Serbia has so much to give. It's crazy. First of all, because it's really, if you want a country that is ruling, let's say, on the right way, needs two things. You need to communicate fast and safe, and you need to go within the country fast and safe. So whether we like it or not, in Serbia, highways everywhere. Like from Niš to Belgrade, you have 2x2. They need one to Montenegro, they need one to Sarajevo, they need one to Romania. Really to have like a matrix of highways, because you need to be able to go to Prijepolje from Subotica in just 2 or 3 hours. You cannot just spend, if you have a business, you cannot spend 7-8 hours. So this implies many things. All the houses, because in Serbia you don't have this concept of village. You have the main road and you have a village. You have houses next to the main road. That means you ride only at 70 kilometers an hour. And to go to Prijepolje, to go to Budva, it's not even Budva, it's not far. But you spend the whole day and you need to wake up at 6 a.m. So first, Beograd, tramway everywhere, night tramways also. And to the airport, also, and from Pančevo all the way to Zemun, all the way to Inđija, and Novi Sad also, everywhere in Novi Sad, almost all the way to the Croatian border. Because it's infrastructure, you need to movement, people move all the time, and it's extremely important. Second thing, most of the people do not know where Serbia is. One of the main main idea for Serbian diplomacy is that everybody who is in high school, let's say in the world, but in the emerging country and in the rich countries, 2/3 of the planet, needs to know where Serbia and Belgrade is on the map. So many people, when I said, not so many, a few, when I said that I was living in Serbia, they told me, oh, in Syria, I like it, Dubai is not far. Why not?
Pa ponekad misle kao iz Sibirija.
I had Siberia also, I had Siberia.
Kako je tebi u Srbiji? Tu si već 3 godine. Luj sve znao nama, mnogo je naučio. Pričali smo mu, objasnili smo mu da smo najstariji na svetu, dobro, ili bar jedni od najstarijih, ali on je saznao da smo mi čak došli sa Siriusa. To nisam znala čak ni ja. Ali šalu na stranu, kako živiš ovde, kako si dočekan? Imaš li prijatelje?
Living extremely well here, and also Macedonia. Lived there also a few months. Traveled everywhere, also in Balkan. If you want just to take a look, I wrote a touristic guidebook. You just type my name with Montenegro, Crna Gora, and I wrote a touristic guidebook on Montenegro. There is something in Serbia I really wished. It's very crazy, the efforts, and I see it since the war happened, since the bombing happened. It's really great, and I see so many foreigners who come here and want to stay here. They just want a Schengen visa. People from Tunisia, from Egypt, they just want a Schengen visa to go 1 week in Italy, 1 week in Austria for holidays. But they want to stay here in Serbia because they feel they have a future in Serbia. I really hope that on the Serbian counterpart, there will be many innovation. It has to be right now, because you cannot afford in Serbia to just miss the step. It cannot be. Especially that Russia will not miss the step. They're going to be Eurasia. We're having towards a world of blocks again. Our elites got revealed with this world of blocks, East-West, and our elites are going to die by letting us this same world of blocks. We're going to have not only two, but Eurasia, West, mostly Chinese with the region of influence. We're going to have and mostly Islamic bloc, like 3, 4, 5 blocks. And we see also with the credit card. Today we cannot pay in Russia, Russians cannot pay in Serbia. It's crazy. Iran is the same, Venezuela is the same. It's terrible in Venezuela. Serbia really has the weapons for it. They have dinar card and they also have the visa. I think they need to promote everything that is promoted in Serbia with international. They need also to promote the Serbian vision of it, because globalization, the rules of globalization are very easy. You do not have borders to accept no one. The borders are here to filter and to accept better. And when you accept better, you win the game of globalization.